Hello and welcome back. I'm in the start of my Hytale dystopian city build. The whole aim of this is to stretch building in Hytale to its limit and break free from the medieval fantasy theme the game heavily pushes. So what does this more than anything else? Well, it's got to be a skyscraper. I wonder how this compares to Minecraft. I mean, there's only one way to find out. So let's go. Let's start with an outline made from cloth. I ran out of cloth, but no worries, we can finish off with some dry dirt instead. Now, looking down from my current tallest building, we can see the outline, a rounded square, though it does kinda look circle-like. But now imagine how cool it will look, towering way above me here, dwarfing these other builds. A bit I did skip over was me flattening the area a little with my shovel. Here is some of it as a time-lapse. It didn't take me too long, though longer than it would have taken with an efficiency 5 shovel if we were in Minecraft. But on the topic of time-lapses, after this one, let's go straight to a time-lapse and montage of the start of the skyscraper. Starting off with some volcanic rock pillars, continuing all around the outline. Now to the door, adding a splash of colour using lovely blue shale rocks. As we don't have a glass block or glass panes like we do in Minecraft, we need to be a bit creative for the windows, so using some vertical slabs we can create these thin looking narrow windows. As the build is very grey at the moment, let's add a ring of blue shale for a pop of colour. Now this next time lapse, I feel it's only fair to admit I had this build mostly planned in a creative world first. But in my defence, a build this size is risky to try and build first try in survival, as nothing is ever perfect first try and the effort to tear it down and start again would just be awful at this scale. It may not look like what I'm building is making sense, but I do have a plan. For example, this stone pattern that doesn't seem to make any sense is to put light emitting blocks on and then contain that light in the correct way so that the build looks really cool at night. Now that the stone is in for the lights, we can put another ring of shale around the build. These golden wood planks will be the walls to balconies. It makes more sense now that the doors are in. Now we just extend the pillars again and add another blue shale ring. Of course, we need to add a roof and a floor for each balcony. So using shale roof for the floor, as it's less than a slab in height, so it gives more space for the player. We wouldn't be able to do this in Minecraft as there's very few blocks that are smaller than a slab. We'll then add full blocks on top for the roof. Now, as we continue extending the pillars and adding the stone for the lights to go on, we notice that this is the same as what we've just built before, so we have a repeating pattern now. We just need to build this many times more. Okay, so about an hour or so later, here we are, and we have the base and 2 floors built. And you can already see how it'll start to look once I build higher. Now to be fair, it looks pretty good already, but it's daytime, and I'll be back at night and you'll see the problem. So yeah, here I am at night, and as you can see, well, that's the problem, you can't see. The build is just a dark monolith when it reaches nighttime. This kind of gives early Minecraft vibes before you could just increase the brightness and see everything at night. Now luckily, as I said, I left space in the design to add light, but I haven't decided which light source to pick. I don't want to use torches, so I have these 2 lantern options here. We have the regular lantern, which I've used elsewhere, but they get expensive, requiring 1 copper for the candle that's required for each one of them. And then we have the light temple lantern, which requires shale, marble and an azure petal, which would require growing lots more azure plants. The void essence for the seeds isn't a problem, as it's the easiest thing in the game to automatically farm quickly. Check out my video on that next. But I would need to make so many crystal fertilizer to grow these azure plants on, which would stop me from making more neon signs with the crystals. Seeing as I need a few hundred, neither of these are perfect options. They both look pretty good, but they're just too expensive. Then I had a thought. The willow tree emits a lovely blue light because of the fruit in it, and the fruit can be placed on the ground by holding crouch. And look at that, with just a few of them in, we can already see the build much better. All we need to do now is get many more of these willow fruit. This barren area of Zone 4 seems as good as any place to grow loads of these trees, and we'll go do something else until these have grown. And a few in-game days later, look at all of this. Most of them seem to have grown quite nicely. Let's cut them down and see how much we get. For the fully grown trees, I seem to get around 15 fruit each time, which means each fruit only costs 1 life essence each. So it's super cheap. You just need the time to plant and wait, and then chop it all down again. Now just adding some window blocks in front of the fruit to make it look a bit more structural. So now I just need to add the fruit to all of the layers we've built so far. So far during this build, this isn't too different to how you'd build this type of skyscraper in Minecraft. You wouldn't be able to use the vertical slabs, but equally if you were in Minecraft you would have the transparent glass blocks at your disposal. I'd say that while it's certainly possible in Hytale to build skyscrapers, it's a little bit harder and you do need to put a bit more thought into how you design your modern builds. Hytale does have one big advantage when it comes to lighting, and we'll see that in just a second once it gets dark. So yeah, the lighting's in, and we have this lovely blue glow around the whole build, which is so cool and so different to what you can get in Minecraft. Again, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but they're certainly different and allow for different styles. I'm about to start a big time lapse going all the way to full height for the skyscraper, but before I do, I just want to show you how the lighting is placed so that we get this nice glow effect. So you can see that the bottom layer of the stone acts as the roof for the floor below and for the base for the fruit to be placed on. The willow fruit is then surrounded by blocks so that the light doesn't leak into areas I don't want it to. I will then cover that with the shale roof blocks like you saw me do earlier so that there's something for the player to stand on. Alright, let's go build this skyscraper, and I'm sure I'll find something to waffle about in voiceover. So the first thing I want to talk about in voiceover is, you may be wondering how I got all of these resources like the stone types and the golden wood, as I've burned through many stacks at this point. The golden wood I have chests full, from harvesting wisteria trees for their pink crystals, and the regular stone from my fully AFK cobblestone generator. You can watch this video to find out the best way to do that in Hytale. Then sadly, you cannot generate volcanic cobble or shale rock, but I do have a semi-automatic method for mining this too. My next video will be on that topic, so stay tuned for that. It's not infinitely AFKable, but you can leave your computer mining in the background with this method for many minutes at a time, while you go and do something else around the house, and then you can come back to hundreds of blocks. So a few sessions of that was more than enough for this project, with plenty left spare for the next one. I do also want to apologise for, such a long wait between videos. It's been far too long and I'm genuinely quite sorry. I did get a little burned out if I'm honest, but I'm back now and, please don't expect weekly videos from me as that just ends up burning me out again. But I'll make videos when I can. I also just really enjoyed playing the game and not making videos, which is actually fantastic. I found that with Minecraft, after playing it for so many years, I kind of need to be making videos to have any motivation whatsoever. I also want to point out that these time lapses wouldn't have been possible without the replay and cutscenes mod for Hytale by AlexandreSlw. I'll provide a link in the mod page in the description, so please send some love and try it out for yourself. It's brilliantly made and very easy to get the hang of. Just as this time lapse is coming to a close, I'd just like to ask you, if you've enjoyed the video so far, to please like the video and subscribe if you've enjoyed, a few of my videos now. And if you really want to help with the algorithm, you can always leave a comment. Maybe say how you've found building in modern styles in Hytale if you've tried it, and how you think it compares to Minecraft. With that, I think I've built enough floors. Hopefully future me has made those few hours of building into some really pretty time lapses and said something interesting over the voiceover, but who knows, it might be really boring. Just need to put on a roof now, so let's talk through that in a build montage. So we'll start by putting a ring of volcanic rock at the top, and then adding a stone roof to the top balconies. Let's actually make that volcanic rock ring a lot thicker. Then adding a floor at the top, leaving a lip of 1 block to act as a railing. Then a little structure at the top, which in real life would house the elevator machinery. Next, I'll add some small red crystals to each corner and the corners of the small box. Some tall masts will look cool on the top, so a first one from goldenwood beam with a large bamboo lamp on the top, and then a taller one from quartzite beam with the same lamp. Next, using calcite for some aircon units, just like I've done on previous builds, and adding some ducting using quartzite pillars. On the other side, putting some vertical aircon units, or maybe these can be electrical boxes, you tell me. Either way, it's something different. Then as it's turning night, adding some light up at the top. This is looking really awesome now, all glowing at night time. This city was designed to be viewed at night. With that, the structure is done, but we're not finished just yet. Yeah, this interior, it looks pretty naff in comparison to the rest of the build. I'll probably just do the ground floor as that's all you'll see, and I'll probably build off camera as I doubt this will time lapse well, so I'll be back in just a minute to show you what I've got. So I'm back, and you can see that it's changed quite a lot behind me, including both an interior and some minor gardening work too. As you walk in, the first thing you'll see is this big box in the middle. This acts as the elevator and maintenance shaft if it was to be a real building. You'll also notice I used some more of the willow fruit for lighting in these sort of geometric shelf units. I've used bamboo chairs as they look the most cyberpunk of all of the options due to their bright colours. Going through the doors, I've just got a water elevator still and no interior. I'll probably just put farms or something in here, but I'm not doing that in this video. I will be putting some neon signs on the build, but first I'm looking at the road and I don't like it. For starters, it's 1 block too high, so I'll lower it and then also redesign while I'm there. Now the old road is removed, the first thing I want to change is the pavement texture. Rather than cobblestone, I'll switch it to the lighter regular stone texture using the hammer, then adding a curb using basalt slabs, and giving the other side of the road the same treatment. Now for the road surface, I'll have a border of the cold dirt next to the pavement, then filling the rest of the road with the ashen soil. Now adding some road markings such as a crossing using the cold dirt, and adding extra texture with the burned dirt. I then try an extra line which I didn't like and removed before adding a second crossing on the other side. Then it was just a case of continuing this design for the rest of the road area. And finally some fancy road markings at the junction. Yeah, okay, I think these roads look awesome now. The right level of grimy for my liking. It definitely wouldn't have worked to have put bright white road markings in. The Hytale textures definitely help here with their connected textures and everything, and it wouldn't have been quite the same in Minecraft. Just need to neaten up these areas here to the sides of the tower, extend the road, and add some street lights. Okay, that's all the roads done now. It's finally time for my favourite part. Let's go and build some neon signs. Now here is where Hytale really has the huge advantage over Minecraft. The coloured lighting is so cool and looks incredible at night, and it single-handedly inspired this entire city. So here is the whole build, looking awesome in the sunset. And I had a lot of fun with this one. But that is the end of this video, and I know some people say you shouldn't compare Hytale to Minecraft, but I feel in this sense it's somewhat appropriate to point out where each game excels. Minecraft with its glass blocks and massive choice of blocks, and Hytale with its grimier feel and awesome coloured lighting. So you can take your pick to whatever is better for you. Thanks so much for watching this far, and if you enjoyed, please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next build in this city. And if you haven't already, maybe go watch part 1 of this city build. I will see you again soon. Thanks again, and goodbye.